The video for June 27th, 2017 is titled Hawaii, the Most Forward-Thinking State. I find it interesting that I am planning to make a video later today with Valentine Hollick, a new friend from Hawaii. And I get an article from my longtime Facebook friend Walt Barnes about Hawaii. Can anyone say synchronicity? Hawaii is the first state to accept the provisions of the Paris Climate Accord and are on the path to universal basic income. Hawaii State Representative Chris Lee wrote a Reddit post about House Concurrent Resolution 29, a bill he says he introduced in order to, quote, start a conversation about our future, end quote. According to Lee, quote, after much work with the help of a few key colleagues, it passed both houses of the state legislature unanimously, end quote. Whether or not these steps are as forward-thinking as indicated remains to be seen, doesn't it? And I got a letter there. I got to put that in because it's a word, but I have C instead of seen. Anyway, yeah, I quite honestly, before I even came to the computer today, I laid there as usual in a state of thought, meditation. I've been asking, before I even went to bed last night, I prayed and talked to God to help me and the world heal and to stop the terrible control of people that seem very malevolent, at the very least. To say that they're malevolent, is actually, to me, it's an understatement. I mean, pedophiles drinking human blood, killing babies. This is the behavior of what we term the elite. And they've dragged in a lot of the Western establishment, at the very least, into this horror. So any state that's forward-thinking and wants to get to honesty, I mean, I'm hoping that's where all of these suggested changes are going, back to where we have honest leadership who actually tell the truth instead of lying to us out of both sides of their mouth. The right and left, and I say both sides, I'm talking in a political sense, but everything is at war with everything else. Nothing is cohesive and balanced and appropriate for a world that has the intention of working to liberate humanity and all beings from a state of slavery and ignorance and barbarism that we've known throughout our so-called human history. I mean, as I've said before, I don't believe that some of these beings are, in fact, what we would term human in the sense of humanity, because they are inhumane to other human beings, which makes them something other than human. Humans, as we discovered with 9/11 and other atrocities that make major headlines around the world, humans have a tendency to be naturally empathic, to care about those that hurt, to want to do something. How many people volunteered at 9/11 to go in and help and to do whatever they could? And there was an outpouring of charitable thoughts, if you will, loving thoughts for others. And this was worldwide. But of course, if we maintained that attitude and got out of the fear mode, it would totally undermine the plans of the elite establishment. And as I've said before, the elite establishment, how can God even allow this so-called elite establishment to be in charge of a planet? I mean, it is absolute insanity. So I'm looking forward to making the video today with Valentine. And that'll, of course, air the one after this one, because we're going to be making it in the afternoon, my time. There's a 6-hour difference between Florida and Hawaii, or at least my part of Florida, 5 hours, I guess, if you were on the Western Panhandle. But in any case, I only wish that Valentine was more computer savvy. I mean, he likes to do everything on the telephone, which means I get telephone calls that aren't always at a convenient time. They're not pre-set up, and then that throws me off, because I sort of like to plan. I get periods of rest because I don't rest well at night. I don't sleep well at night often. I mean, it's very hard for me to get an 8 hour. I mean, 8 hours. I mean, if I could get 6 hours, I mean, it would be really good. Normally it's 4 or 5, sometimes even less. And I like to catch a nap here and then in the afternoon. But I hope Hawaii is as forward thinking as is indicated in this piece that Walt sent me. And I'd like to see the whole world be forward thinking. I'd like to see the Georgia Guidestones be annihilated, and their plan to reduce the world's population to a manageable 500 million people. I'd like to see that exposed and expose the mentality of these criminals that that look at humanity as useless eaters and want to eliminate the vast majority of the population on this, the human population on this planet. You know, folks, as you know, I want there to be a real awakening. I want the real creator, whoever that is, the real God above everything else, to take responsibility for creation. And some say that God is just evolving like we are, that this whole creation thing was not something with great forethought and a high plan. It was sort of just a progression of occurrences that, you know, God was experimenting, or the prime creator was experimenting with what he, it, she could do. And I think that God is all of those, the he, the she, and the it, because it's not just one thing, it's all things. I mean, at least that's my concept. Is God all-knowing? Is God all-powerful? Is God even involved? Is there a personal God that's involved in this whole thing, a center of what we call God? Or is it just spread out over a whole bunch of diverse entities and beingness, creations? I mean, we've looked at some of the ancient centaurs and stuff like that, which shows that they were playing with creation. I don't know what the answer is. I'd like to find a far forward-thinking humanity that was encouraged to find solutions to problems that we have in the current culture, and to undo some of the atrocities that have been being committed against us for such a long time. But will that happen? Will it happen in my lifetime? I mean, it may eventually happen, but will it happen in my lifetime? And I don't know the answer. And that still is troublesome to me. It bothers me that I may have lived my life in vain. Now, people tell me, Ron, you've made an impact already. You've done amazing things. And that may be true, but I've done amazing things with the intent of bringing forth the kingdom of heaven on earth, which means a truthful and balanced approach to life, where we lift each other up instead of trying to hold each other down, where we share rather than trying to hoard everything for ourselves. And we live in a culture where we have to do what we can to protect ourselves, because it's not a safe culture to live in. Even the establishment, the police and stuff, are against humanity oftentimes. Anyway, I see my time is up, and I appreciate those of you that take time to listen every day. Thank you very much, and namaste.